Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my priority series to start in 2025 video. I saw some other booktubers, particularly Red Fury books, talk about, or it was Red Fury reviews. Anyway, I saw Josh over there talking about his priority reads for 2025, and I thought, you know what, darn it, I want to get involved in that. So these are book series that I have on my shelf that I intend to start in 2025. I have 8 priority series that I'm like pretty sure I'm going to get to, or at least start them. And then I have 5 that are like, maybe I'll start it. It depends on if I can get there. And then, of course, there will inevitably be books that are just not on my radar, or books that I'm not prepared for that I'll get to. And I'll point out that most of this list is science fiction, because a lot of fantasy series, I'm in the middle of the series, or I'm in the middle of an arc in the series. And so, like, I have books in that series I need to read, but I'm not starting the series in 2025. I'll just like read a book somewhere in the middle. So that's why the majority of this is sci-fi, but there are a few fantasy. There is one Star Wars series, and there is a contemporary historical fiction series. So I'm excited to talk about all these. So let's get into my 8. The 8 most likely will definitely pretty much read in 2025. But please don't hold me to this, just in case I don't get to them. So I'm not going to talk too long about them. I'm just going to talk about why I'm excited to read them. The first series I picked is because I'm not only excited for it, but it's very short, and I think I'll get to it quickly. And that is Travis Taylor and Les Johnson's Back to the Moon and Onto the Asteroid duology. These are 2 books that they wrote. It's actually the first 2 books that Les Johnson wrote. And these are, very much hard science fiction about, first going back to the moon and then going on to an asteroid for mining. And Les Johnson, I've interviewed on the channel. I actually have interviewed him twice. I've read some of his books. I love Les Johnson. And these are very short books. They're only like 380 pages, and I really like his style, and I love this brand of science fiction. So I'm very excited to get to this series. This is from Baen. I also have another Dune series that I'm excited to get to, and that is the Butlerian Jihad Trilogy. I just got this trilogy from a used bookstore for very reasonable. We have the first book, the Butlerian Jihad, and then we have the second book, The Machine Crusade, and then we have the third book, The Battle of Corinne. And these are not particularly my brand of covers, but I'm excited to read this because Kevin J. Anderson is one of my favorite tie-in fiction authors, favorite science fiction and fantasy authors, and he just writes books that I just am going to enjoy. Are they going to be nominated for Best Books Ever? Probably not, but I love his books. They're so entertaining to me. And his Dune books, I've read a lot of his other trilogies for Dune, and they're really entertaining, so I have a good track record with him, so I'm really excited to read these. I also have a fantasy series I'm really excited to get to, and that is the next arc in the Rhapsody series. So I read the first trilogy for the Symphony of Ages by Elizabeth Hayden about 2 years ago, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I just put down the series because I had other stuff I wanted to get to, but I have books 4, 5, and 6. Book 4, Requiem for the Sun, with, of course, gorgeous royal covers, and then Elegy for a Lost Star, and then also The Assassin King. I'm sorry, it's all torn up. It won't come off. I've tried with the other stuff. Anyway, Elizabeth Hayden, love her writing usually. Books 1 and 3 in the series are like top-tier fantasy for me. Book 2, it was okay. But I'm excited. These aren't too long, so it should be a fun read to get to. Speaking of fantasy and also of tie-in fiction, I have another series to get to. This is actually a tetralogy, which means it's a 4-book series, and it's by R.A. Salvatore, and that is The Legend of Drizz, which I believe this is the Legacy Quartet. It's the books The Legacy, Starless Night, Siege of Darkness, and Passage to Dawn. It's 4 books in this bind-up. Together, it's like just over 1,000 pages, so it's smaller print than normal. Each book's about 250 pages in here, and I enjoy the Legend of Drizz series fine, and I've been wanting to get into more Forgotten Realms tie-in books, stuff like that for fantasy, and now I have this tie-in edition, or this bind-up, this omnibus bind-up. I'm not a huge omnibus bind-up reader. I've read a couple. It's not my cup of tea, but I'll do it when I have to, and I'm excited to eventually get to this one. Also on my priority to read, I have a Star Wars series, and that is Star Wars The MedStar Duology. Again, another really short series. It's just 2 books. You have the first book, Battle Surgeons, and the second book, Jedi Healer. These are both by Michael Reeves and Steve Perry. And I have a friend online named Nazo who has assured me that these are amazing top-tier Star Wars books. So I'm very excited to get to these. And, you know, the Clone Wars has been mostly miss for me when it comes to the books. I love the TV show, but the books have been mostly miss with a few hits now and then. I loved Jedi Trial, but the rest were either okay or not good. So I'm hoping that these are good. Hoping I enjoy those. I also have a series. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and I've been putting it off because I've been reading similar books, and I don't want to read too much of the same, but I really want to get to this series, and that is Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars Trilogy. You have the first book, Red Mars, the second book, Green Mars, and the third book, Blue Mars, which have gorgeous covers. Who did the cover art? Because I need to check, because that is just gorgeous. Cover art by Don Dixon. Don, you get all the bonus points for those covers. Those are gorgeous covers. And I've been told, everyone says, if you love Ben Bova science fiction books, you should read Kim Stanley Robinson. And I'm very excited to start his books. And it's just a trilogy, which makes it easier, but it's, you know, decent length books. But I'm super excited to get to these because I love this brand of science fiction, this hard science fiction. All right, my next trilogy I want to talk about is a really, really huge trilogy, but I think I'll be able to manage it. And that is the Ken Follett Century Trilogy. The first book is The Fall of Giants, which is like 1,000 pages long. The second book is Winter of the World, which is again 1,000 pages long. And then you have the third book, Edge of Eternity, which again is 1,000 pages long. Ken Follett does not write short books, or at least not when it comes to his historical fiction. But I loved Pillars of the Earth, and I loved the World Without End. And I'm about to read, as I'm recording this next month, I'm going to be reading the next book in the series, which is A Column of Fire. And so I love his writing style. Even though there's certain things I don't like, I still enjoy it. And so this is a beefy trilogy, but if it's anything like his other books, I'll breeze through these in a couple of days because he's just that good a writer. So I'm excited to get to those, and I'm going to have to put them down here. Anyway, let's also talk about the last priority one. This is the last one I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to. The others, I might get to them, might not, we'll see. But this last one, I'm super excited to get to. And that is the Cobra War Trilogy by Timothy Zahn. Timothy Zahn, my favorite science fiction author. He's finishing up in April of next year his last Icarus book. And so after that, I won't have any ongoing Zahn series unless he announces one randomly, which he might, but we'll see. So because of that, I wanted to start. I have another trilogy in this Cobra universe, but it takes place after this, so I have to read this one first. So I'm going to read this, which, by the way, this has gorgeous Dave Seeley cover art. I even have a print up there. You can't see it on camera, but I have a print up on my up there that has this beautiful cover art. But I am excited to read this. I loved books 1 and 3 of the first Cobra trilogy, and so I'm hoping I really enjoy this one too. It's like military sci-fi is what that one is. All right, now for I might get to these, I might not. We'll see what happens. The first series here I want to talk about is Melanie Ron's Dragon Prince series. You have the book 1, Dragon Prince, which has Michael Whalen, all these beautiful Michael Whalen paintings. And then you have book 2, The Star Scroll. And then you have book 3, The Sun Runner's Fire. And I'm mostly interested in these because of how much Brian Lee Durfee talks about how much he loves these books. And of course, they have good cover art and good spines. I like the design, and it's got 2 of them have those yellow pages, which really tell you how old they are. But I'm excited to read these books. I don't know if I'll get to them next year. It might be the year after. We'll have to see. But I'm excited to get to these eventually. Next in my, maybe I'll get to it, I don't know yet, is the Bloodsworn Saga trilogy. The first book is Shadow of the Gods. I do not have books 2 and 3 yet. I don't have book 2 because I just haven't purchased it yet. And book 3 I don't have because it's not out yet as I record this. But I've heard nothing but good things about this series. I loved his Faithful and the Fallen. It started out good and became amazing by the end. And so if he keeps, getting better, and of course this cover, it's so gorgeous. It's so good. Who did the cover? Cover design, cover illustration by Marcus Winnie. Marcus, you got a beautiful cover there. So this trilogy, I'm really excited to read it eventually. I don't know when I'll get to it though, so can't make promises yet. Next, I have a science fiction trilogy by Kevin J. Anderson. He's on here a lot because he's one of my favorite authors, and I bought a lot of books of his. And he wrote this trilogy called The Saga of the Shadows. With the first book, The Dark Between the Stars, which actually won an award. I forgot which award it won. Was it the Nebula? Or something. Anyway, it won a big award. And then you have the second book is Blood of the Cosmos, and the third book is Eternity's Mind. And I bought this trilogy from him like 5 years ago when he was in town, and he signed all the books. And I picked up the first book, and I didn't have any idea what was going on, because this is apparently a sequel trilogy to his big Saga of the Seven Sons series, which is a 7-book saga. And I didn't know that at the time, really. And so I picked it up, and I was like, I don't understand this, and I put it down. And then a very rare time that I DNF'd something. And then I read the Saga of the Seven Sons, which I loved. And then I was like, wait a second, I think I recognize some of the names. Those are in this book series. So I'm ready to pick this back up, and hopefully, maybe next year, maybe the year after. Again, I have a lot of Kevin J. Anderson books to get to. But eventually I'll get to this trilogy, which I'm looking forward to. They're decent size. Like, first book's 700 pages. The second two are like 600 pages. So it's a decent size trilogy, but I'm excited to get to it eventually. I'm running out of room. And then the next series I want to get to is the Belgar by David Eddings. I know David Eddings is very controversial and very not looked favorably upon because of some things that he and his wife did. But one of my friends from college talks about how much he loves the Belgar, and he talks about how he loved the simplicity of the writing and the adventure story here. And so I actually have some bind-ups of the books. I have the first 3 books in this bind-up, which is Pawn of Prophecy, Queen of Sorcery, and Magician's Gambit. And then in this bind-up, I have 2 books. I have Castle of Wizardry and Enchanter's Endgame. And I got these for very reasonable. The 2 books together cost me $9, and they have 5 books between the 2. So that's a pretty good deal. And I'm excited to get to the Belgar eventually. That's my, on my eventually list. And the last book series on my priority to get to is I'm going to have to use the term because it's on the cover, the Hellhole series. I prefer to call it Heckhole. But this is by Brian Herbert and Kevin Anderson. You have the first book, Hellhole. They have the second book, which is Hellhole Awakening, and the third book, Hellhole Inferno. And this is by Kevin and Brian, who did, the Dune books together. And I love their writing style, and I saw this trilogy, and I really wanted to get it. But I'm putting this off until I finish those other 2 series. Of the 3 Kevin and Brian books that I have, the 3 trilogies, the Dune one gets the first priority, then it'll be the Saga of the Shadows, and then if I can get to the Hellhole series, third. But I'm excited about it. But before I go, I want to address something, and that is Star Trek. You may have noticed that there were no Star Trek series on this list. For those of you who are unaware, I recently joined the Literary Treks podcast, and it's great, and I love it. But I've had to shift my Star Trek reading. That basically the Star Trek book I read every month now, which I do about 1 a month, is for that podcast. So because of that, I'm really not doing stuff outside of it. So whatever we decide for the podcast is what I'm reading for Star Trek. And so we have not determined what our next big series. We're just finishing up right now the Lost Era, and we're going to do some standalones for a few months, and then eventually we'll get back into another series. I don't know what that is yet, so I can't make promises about it because I don't know. So there will be a Star Trek series that I'll read next year, probably. I don't know, but there'll just be a lot of standalones. So That's where the Star Trek series is. So those are all the 8 certain priority and the 5 maybe priority book series that I want to read in 2025. If you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts on them. If you've heard about them, let me know your thoughts. If you have priority series you want to start or read, let me know those as well. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.